Beloved, there comes a moment in every life where heaven leans close, a moment where the whisper of God becomes louder than every noise around you. It is not a suggestion, it is not a casual invitation, it is a divine call, an assignment shaped before you were born, written into the blueprint of your destiny, sealed with the fingerprints of God Himself. And the truth many people never face is this: God does not call the comfortable. He does not call the already perfect. He calls the willing, the awakened, and the hungry. He calls those who dare to say, "Lord, speak, your servant is listening." The divine call is not always loud, but it is always clear. It begins as a restlessness in your spirit, a holy dissatisfaction with ordinary living, a sense that there is more assigned to your hands, more alive inside your heart, more waiting on the other side of your obedience. Some of you listening right now have felt it. You've tried to silence it. You've tried to distract yourself from it. You've tried to convince yourself you're not qualified, you're not strong enough, you're not ready. But God did not ask for your qualifications. He asked for your surrender. He didn't ask whether you felt prepared. He asked whether you're willing. He didn't ask if you see the way. He asked if you'll trust Him. You cannot outrun a call that heaven placed on your life. You cannot silence what God Himself has spoken over you. You cannot bury a purpose that refuses to die because it was birthed in eternity. The divine call is persistent. It shows up in your dreams. It pulls on your emotions. It comes back every time you fall. It tugs at you when the world sleeps. It wakes you up when you thought you'd given up. Because God knows the truth. You were not made for a small life. You were not created to merely survive. You were designed for impact, for influence, for spiritual authority, for a transformational journey that shakes nations, families, and generations. Your pain did not disqualify you. Your mistakes did not cancel your calling. Your past did not delete your assignment. The enemy tried, but heaven overruled. When God calls you, He equips you. When God calls you, He strengthens you. When God calls you, He clears the path that looked impossible, opens doors that were shut, and aligns opportunities that seemed unreachable. And hear me, when God calls you, everything in your life begins to shift. Relationships change, priorities reorder, old desires fall away. Your heart becomes sensitive to the things of the Spirit. You start wanting what God wants, dreaming what God dreams, and seeing what heaven sees. Many ignore God's call because they assume it always comes with clarity. No, God rarely gives the full map. He gives a step. He gives an instruction. He gives a whisper. And those who obey that whisper step into a life they never imagined. Some of you keep waiting for confirmation, for signs, for a thunderous voice from the sky. But the truth is this: the call is already inside you. You feel it every time you pray. You sense it when you're alone. You hear it between the lines of your tears. And you know this is not ordinary emotion. This is divine prompting. Do not ignore it. Do not postpone it. Do not bury it under fear or excuses. Because the most dangerous place to be is not outside God's blessings. It's outside God's assignment. When you ignore the call, life feels empty. But when you respond to the call, life becomes supernatural. This call is not to a title. It is to transformation. It is not to fame. It is to purpose. It is not to applause. It is to obedience. It is not to comfort. It is to destiny. Your life is too valuable to live uncalled. Your future is too important to live unaware. Heaven has invested too much in you for you to walk casually through existence. Today, God is calling you again, calling you higher, calling you deeper, calling you nearer, calling you to the place where miracles happen and destinies awaken. This is the divine call you cannot ignore. And today, heaven is waiting on your yes. When God places a divine call upon a person's life, it rarely comes wrapped in comfort, clarity, or convenience. It comes quietly, sometimes unexpectedly, and often at a moment when life feels ordinary or even chaotic. Yet within that gentle whisper lies an assignment that carries eternal weight. The first sign of this call is a deep, unshakable stirring in your spirit, something you cannot explain with logic, something that does not go away no matter how busy you become, no matter how much you try to distract yourself, no matter what others say. It begins as a soft nudge, a subtle awareness, a holy discomfort that tells you there is more to your life than what you are currently living. Many people try to silence this inner stirring because it disrupts the life they have built. But the more you silence it, the stronger it grows, because God's call is not a suggestion, it is a divine summons. This stirring is not emotional hype, it is not imagination, it is not ambition. It is the fingerprint of God pressing against your heart, awakening you to your true identity and purpose. You feel it when you lie awake at night, wondering why you feel restless when everything in your life looks normal. You feel it when your soul seems to outgrow your surroundings, when you sense you were made for something bigger, deeper, more meaningful. You feel it when the things that once satisfied you no longer carry weight, because your spirit is being pulled toward a path that your mind has not yet understood. This is the beginning of the divine call, the moment God disrupts your inner world to prepare you for what He has ordained in your destiny. A divine stirring often makes you feel out of place with your environment. You may find yourself losing interest in certain conversations, activities, and relationships that once occupied your time. It is not because you have become prideful or distant. It is because your spirit is shifting, elevating, maturing. God is quietly detaching you from everything that cannot follow you into your calling. The people around you may not understand this shift. They might call you different, strange, or withdrawn, but they cannot hear what you hear. They cannot feel what you feel. They cannot carry what you carry. When God calls you, He isolates your heart so He can speak to it without interruption. This stirring is also accompanied by a divine dissatisfaction, an inner knowing that the life you are currently living is not the final chapter. Even if things are going well, you feel incomplete. Even if people applaud you, you feel unsettled. Even when you achieve certain goals, something still feels missing. That missing piece is not failure, it is direction. God is using that dissatisfaction to pull you toward His plan. Some people misinterpret this feeling as depression or confusion, but it is actually spiritual awakening. It is God preparing your spirit for transition. Before He moves your feet, He moves your heart. Sometimes the stirring comes through a burden, an unexplainable concern for a particular group of people, a specific problem in the world, or a need that others overlook. You may feel drawn to help the broken, the lonely, the struggling, the lost. You may feel compelled to step into ministry, leadership, creativity, or service. You may suddenly feel a strong pull to pray more, to worship more, to read more, to separate from old habits, to cleanse your life. These are not random impulses. They are divine signals. God is placing His desires into your spirit. What burdens you is a clue to where He is sending you. This stirring can be uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the gap between where you are and where God is calling you to be. You may feel unqualified, insecure, or inadequate. Your mind may list every reason why you are not ready: your past, your mistakes, your weaknesses, your lack of resources. But God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He does not choose you because you are perfect. He chooses you because you are available. He does not need your strength. He needs your surrender. The stirring is not asking you to be ready. It is asking you to say yes. One of the clearest signs of this divine stirring is the sense that God is trying to get your attention. You may notice patterns, repeated messages, scriptures that hit your heart in unusual ways, dreams that feel like instructions, moments where you feel God highlighting something inside you. It feels personal. It feels intentional. It feels like heaven is leaning closer to your life. You may try to ignore it, but it keeps returning because God is relentless with those he calls. He does not let you escape the destiny he has written for you. This stirring often brings separation. Not everyone who started with you will walk with you into your calling. God will allow certain friendships to fade, certain opportunities to close, certain environments to become uncomfortable. He is not punishing you. He is positioning you. He is removing voices that would distract you, closing doors that would derail you, and tearing away attachments that would suffocate your purpose. You may feel lonely for a season, but that loneliness is sacred. That loneliness is where God begins to speak. The divine stirring is the first step toward transformation. It is God awakening the dormant greatness he placed inside you before you were born. It is a reminder that you were created with intention, crafted with purpose, and chosen for impact. When you feel this stirring, do not run from it. Lean into it, because this is how heaven begins the journey of shaping you into who you were always meant to be. When God places a divine call on your life, he doesn't whisper it into a peaceful room filled with comfort. Often, he speaks in the middle of your confusion, in the middle of situations that make no sense, in the middle of seasons where you feel unqualified, unseen, or unprepared. The call of God rarely arrives when you feel ready. It arrives to make you ready. That is why so many people miss it. Not because God didn't call, but because they expected the call to feel convenient, comfortable, or easy. But a divine calling almost always interrupts your normal life. It disrupts your routine, stretches your capacity, and challenges everything you thought you were. And if you don't understand this, you will think you are experiencing chaos, when in truth, you are experiencing destiny. There comes a moment when God starts stirring your heart with thoughts you didn't ask for, dreams that are bigger than your current skills, desires that don't match your surroundings, and a hunger that cannot be satisfied with the life you are currently living. That stirring is not random. That stirring is heaven announcing that your assignment has begun. You might try to ignore it. You might try to suppress it. You might try to rationalize it away, but the stirring will return. It will return in the morning. It will return at night, and it will follow you even into the places where you once found comfort. Because when God calls you, he refuses to let you stay where he found you. He will unsettle you until you start moving. But the challenge is this: the divine call often comes disguised as discomfort. You lose interest in things you once enjoyed. You feel disconnected from environments that once energized you. You sense that something is shifting inside you, even though nothing outside you looks different. And if you're not spiritually aware, you might think something is wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. God is awakening you. He is transitioning you from the old version of yourself to the version that is prepared for his assignment. The divine call always pulls you away from the temporary so you can focus on the eternal. It pulls you away from distractions so you can hear direction. It pulls you away from the opinions of people so you can hear the voice of God. There comes a point in every believer's life when the divine call becomes louder than distractions, stronger than excuses, and more persistent than fear. This is the moment when God stops whispering and starts stirring. He begins to disrupt your comfort, unsettle your normal, and shift the atmosphere around you. You start sensing internal movement, an unexplainable feeling that something is changing, something is being demanded of you, something is pulling you forward even when you try to stay still. This is not anxiety. This is not confusion. This is the holy tug of God repositioning your life. And when God decides to move you, he does it so intentionally that no force in the world can stop it. Many people think God's call always arrives in quiet, peaceful, angelic tones, but more often it arrives through holy discomfort. You wake up one day uninterested in what once excited you. The circles you used to enjoy no longer feed your spirit. The habits that used to comfort you now irritate your soul. The path you used to walk suddenly feels too small, too tight, too empty. This inner agitation is spiritual. It is heaven telling you, you cannot stay where you are. God sometimes removes your peace not to punish you, but to reposition you. He allows you to feel unsettled because stagnation is no longer an option for your destiny. The call begins with a disturbance, not because God is chaotic, but because He knows we cling too tightly to the familiar. When God calls, He will also begin to disconnect you from people who cannot travel with you into your next season. Some people were only assigned to your past chapters. They were never meant for your future. But because the heart loves attachment, God Himself steps in and removes what you would never remove on your own. Suddenly, conversations don't flow the way they used to. The bond begins to fade. The connection weakens. These are not betrayals. These are divine edits. God cleans your environment before releasing your assignment. He separates you not because people are bad, but because your calling requires clarity, purity, and focus. There are voices that would distract you, opinions that would slow you, and relationships that would dilute your purpose. God prunes your circle so you can hear His direction without interference.
There comes a point in every believer's life when the divine call becomes louder than distractions, stronger than excuses, and more persistent than fear. This is the moment when God stops whispering and starts stirring. He begins to disrupt your comfort, unsettle your normal, and shift the atmosphere around you. You start sensing internal movement, an unexplainable feeling that something is changing. Something is being demanded of you. Something is pulling you forward even when you try to stay still. This is not anxiety. This is not confusion. This is the holy tug of God repositioning your life. And when God decides to move you, He does it so intentionally that no force in the world can stop it. Many people think God's call always arrives in quiet, peaceful, angelic tones, but more often it arrives through holy discomfort. You wake up one day uninterested in what once excited you. The circles you used to enjoy no longer feed your spirit. The habits that used to comfort you now irritate your soul. The path you used to walk suddenly feels too small, too tight, too empty. This inner agitation is spiritual. It is heaven telling you, you cannot stay where you are. God sometimes removes your peace, not to punish you, but to reposition you. He allows you to feel unsettled, because stagnation is no longer an option for your destiny. The call begins with a disturbance, not because God is chaotic, but because He knows we cling too tightly to the familiar. When God calls, He will also begin to disconnect you from people who cannot travel with you into your next season. Some people were only assigned to your past chapters. They were never meant for your future. But because the heart loves attachment, God Himself steps in and removes what you would never remove on your own. Suddenly, conversations don't flow the way they used to. The bond begins to fade. The connection weakens. These are not betrayals. These are divine edits. God cleans your environment before releasing your assignment. He separates you not because people are bad, but because your calling requires clarity, purity, and focus. There are voices that would distract you, opinions that would slow you, and relationships that would dilute your purpose. God prunes your circle so you can hear His direction without interference.
When God places a divine call on your life, it is never random, never accidental, and never without purpose. That call is the echo of eternity speaking into your temporary world. It is God reminding you that you were not born to simply pass through life unnoticed. You were formed, shaped, and chosen for something that carries the weight of heaven. Throughout your journey, God has been whispering, nudging, guiding, sometimes gently and sometimes firmly, because He refuses to let you settle for a life smaller than the one He designed for you. You may have tried to ignore the call because life got heavy. You may have pushed it aside because fear built walls around your confidence. You may have convinced yourself that someone else is more qualified, more gifted, more holy, or more capable. But the truth is this: God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. His voice doesn't come to people who have everything figured out. His call comes to ordinary people he intends to use for extraordinary purposes. And when God calls you, he calls every part of you, your past, your pain, your mistakes, your strengths, your weaknesses. Nothing in your life is wasted. Every chapter has prepared you. Every struggle has trained you. Every heartbreak has softened you. Every breakthrough has strengthened you. Heaven has invested too much in you for you to throw away your calling because of fear or confusion. The divine call on your life is not just about what God wants you to do. It is about who he is shaping you to become. It is about learning to trust him even when the path is dark. It is about obeying his voice even when the instruction feels unusual. It is about stepping out even when you do not have all the details. God's call will rarely fit into your comfort zone, but it will always fit into your destiny. And the beautiful part, God never sends a call without sending the power to fulfill it. The moment you say yes, heaven moves. The moment you surrender, grace increases. The moment you step forward, doors open. Your life begins to align with purpose. You begin to walk in a strength that is not yours, in wisdom you never had, and in boldness you didn't know you were capable of. So today the question is simple: will you answer the call? Will you allow God to lead you into the future he designed? Will you surrender your fear, your excuses, your limitations, and trust that the one who calls you is faithful to complete the work he started in you? Your calling is not waiting for a perfect version of you. It is waiting for a willing version of you. Say yes, step forward, walk boldly, because the divine call you cannot ignore is the divine destiny you were born to fulfill.